That must be one of the questions I get asked most often, and yet, for me, it's the easiest to answer. How do you find inspiration? How do you find your artistic style? How do you know what to draw? When, where, what, with what? That's actually a lot of questions. Or how do you get to this level of drawing? Wow, incredible. I mean, he's been transformed in every way. So today, I'm going to try to answer you with 6 tips based on my own artistic experience. In my opinion, these tips can apply to everyone, but it's up to you to choose which one you prefer. If you have more suggestions, let me know in the comments. Maybe we'll do another episode. Tip 1. Oh no! 1 tip 1 first tip 1 first tip 1. Maybe I'm getting a little carried away, right? The first thing is simply to open your eyes. Now, I'm talking about visual art, so of course it's about what you see, but if you're into music, then it's about opening your ears. Although using all your senses can also give you ideas for artistic creation, no matter the field. There's a first thing you learn, for example, when you enter an art school, and that's visual research. Basically, you browse a bit on the internet, in books, in movies, and so on, to do passive visual research on a given subject. That means when you're scrolling on social media, try to do it in a smart way. Don't just watch cat or otter videos because they're cute, or car videos because you like cars. Try to look at a variety of different things, and that's what will give you ideas in your field. But beyond social media, there are plenty of other places where you can find visual inspiration. Whether it's museums, books, comic books, manga, comics, exhibitions, art galleries, or movies. Theater. We don't always think about it, but theater exists too, and it's one of the fundamental arts. When walking down the street alone or with friends, avoid staring at your phone or the ground. Look up and around. There's street art, shop windows, typography, posters, and visuals that can inspire you. My main advice, which seems obvious, is simply to live. That should go without saying. As you get older, the more references like that you gather, the more inspired and cultured you become. Second piece of advice. This is the second piece of advice. Be curious about everything. Try to discover fields you don't know about, and maybe even ones you don't know exist. Let's take the example of someone who draws on paper with a pencil. I think many of you can relate to this description. Try to find out, even within the tool of the pencil, what are all the techniques for using this medium. You can do hatching, blending, erasing, use different hardnesses depending on the tools. In short, just the pencil already offers a great variety of techniques. It's up to you to be curious and discover them. But otherwise, in general, don't be afraid to take the step toward a technique or another that might seem a bit intimidating to you, and we'll see that a little later on in the video. Third tip. Third tip, do your research. This third tip goes a little bit with the first one, which is to look at everything you see. Now, you need to do some research about what you see. You are in a museum, you see a painting, ask yourself what technique the artist used, what tool, what color, how they mixed those colors, how they achieved that result. Could I try to reproduce it in my own way? That will help you discover new techniques or new tools. As I said before, be curious. Find out about the inspirations of artists as well. If you like my work, I am inspired by many other artists who might also inspire you. Find out where things come from and be curious about that. Well, in the end, Bruno Greffer, the first 3 pieces of advice you gave us are the same thing. You have to be curious. You keep repeating it. You're annoying us. It's the same point. I did say this at the start of the video. These things are obvious to me. So the advice is a little bit similar to each other, except for advice number 4. Advice number 4. Experiment. Once you have gathered references, once you've been curious enough to discover new ones, and once you know how these artists work and what their sources of inspiration are, now it's your turn to try stepping out of your comfort zone. And the key, let's go back to the example from the beginning of someone drawing with a pencil on paper. Because once again, I think that applies to many of you watching this video, doesn't it? By the way, tell me in the comments what your favorite drawing technique is. For example, you could try letting go of your pencil and draw only with color, whether it's colored pencils or markers. Try drawing with your left hand, try drawing with both hands, try drawing without looking at the paper and only at the model. Try drawing while intensely observing the model. Once again, remember that the model is never just your paper. Try drawing a character completely from memory. Try drawing without sketching. Try drawing without lifting the pen. In short, here is a collection of little experiments you can do at home to have fun, experiment, and at the same time make progress. I admit that I just thought of a bonus tip, even though it won't be among the 6. But to counteract the blank page, you can try making pages with collage or abstract backgrounds, which you can then use in your sketchbooks as backgrounds for your sketches. I'll show you some examples I made. I really love this kind of thing. It looks great. I almost want to leave the pages as they are. Here's what a page like that can look like. With a few sketches drawn on top, you can see that just by adding a colored background, it will transform your drawings and give them an extra dimension. Fifth 5 like this. Fifth tip, tip number 5, it's going to be breakfast. 5, the tip. I'm going too far again. Definitely don't be afraid to fail. It goes with the previous tip to experiment. You're going to fail countless times and that's completely normal, and be okay with that. It's normal to fail and you're going to keep failing your whole life. Myself. Even today, I'm almost 30 years old and I keep failing. Well, I won't say every day, but very regularly. I showed you this drawing in the introduction. Actually, I was really afraid of failing because I tore up the portrait I had done well of Anim after working on it for an hour and a half by completely changing it to the other side, just messing it up. So, yes, you could say that it's a complete failure, but at least I had fun and I experimented with something I was a bit less comfortable with. For example, here are my last 2 failures with paintings. One painting where I glued some kind of furry fluff and I thought, come on, let's make a painting. And I tried to do Stitch. Can you see Stitch? No, in the end it's a nice abstract background. But well, the failure is that I wanted to make Stitch. And a second painting that I wanted to cover with self-adhesive mirror to make a disco ball painting. So it works a little bit, except that when you look closely you see the seams of all the self-adhesive mirror strips. And so, I didn't even want to finish it and I stopped there. There you go, another fail. But it's okay, because by experimenting with it, I saw that it just didn't work. Maybe I should try with another surface, a really flat surface, or maybe I should buy something other than self-adhesive strips. That just goes to show that I never would have known if it worked or not if I hadn't tried. In short, the more you fail, the more you learn. We're on to the 6th tip. Sixth tip, yeah. Why won't it stop? I'm pressing stop. It won't stop. These are really machines from the 80s. You hit them, they work, then suddenly they don't work anymore. But I don't want to press it to see if it still works. Don't be afraid to copy. In my opinion, it's normal to copy another artist. If it's to get inspired and to follow the advice we've seen earlier, to experiment. Still be careful to properly credit your sources of inspiration or the artist whose work you copy. And also, I'm not talking here about taking an artist's work and passing it off as your own. And on top of that, selling it, that's a no, we agree. No copying, no plagiarism, nothing like that. But I'm talking here about looking at an artist. So tip number 1, to learn about their techniques. So that's tip number 3, to experiment with their technique yourself. So that's tip number 4, don't be afraid to fail, because of course it's going to be the first time you try. So that's tip number 5, by copying their technique. So that's tip number 6, and what will help you improve your own technique. There are a lot of painters who have practiced by copying the works of great artists. In fact, there's even a profession called a copyist. So in conclusion, guys, what can we take away from this video, this kind of video game style? In my opinion, we all have imagination. And in abundance, you just have to go pick it from the right place and also train it. It's like when you're a kid and you look at the clouds, you see things inside those shapes and you imagine monsters. Or you tell yourself stories and you talk about quotation marks like this. Because actually there's also a fear you don't have, which is the fear of looking ridiculous, or the fear of not being mature enough, adult enough, and so on. Children often have an overflowing imagination because precisely they are not limited and they are not afraid to fail or to try new things. All the more so because for them, almost everything is new. To finish, I'll quote a saying from Picasso, who said that he spent his whole life trying to draw like a child. If you're young and you're watching this video, start training your inspiration as early as possible. The more you do it over the years, the more creative you'll be as an adult. But if you're already an adult or you're old, don't worry. There's no age limit to start training your imagination. And I hope you can succeed with all these little tips and exercises. If you enjoyed it, feel free to like this video and subscribe for more content. And let me know in the comments if I might have forgotten anything, or what are your own techniques for training your inspiration. I'll see you soon.